What is the strangest thing that happened to you that you cannot logically explain? I'm too young to remember this, actually, but my mom always tells this story. Apparently, when I was younger, like barely able to speak, I was sitting on the floor playing with some toys nonchalantly with my mom, when I just said, when I was in heaven, I met a woman who said you'd be the perfect mommy for me. I apparently held the belief that I was in heaven before being born, and an angel looked at me and chose the mom I went to. My mom asked me to describe the woman, and I apparently described my mom's great-grandmother perfectly. Down to the eye color. I had never met my great-great-grandmother, nor seen a picture of her. In 1996, I had just dropped out of university and was moving home to my parents' place. My tail was firmly between my legs. I had almost no money and no job prospects. Basically I was screwed. I had an old Jeep Comanche with all my belongings in the back and 200 miles to go. I borrowed $20 from a friend for gas and started the trip. I got to a point that was 30 miles from home and was on empty. I pulled into a gas station / rest stop and sort of cried for a minute in my truck. I needed $5 for gas to make it the rest of the way and had nothing. There was no way I could call my dad and ask for help. He was already so disappointed. After a minute I started searching around my truck for change. Anything. I opened the glove box and there were these paper loyalty bucks for a gas station that I never used. It turns out it was the exact gas station that I was stopped at. $4.70 worth of bucks. I found another $2 in change, put $6 in the gas tank, and bought a Coke. I made it home. Fast forward 20 years, I had sorted my crap out, and I'm a lawyer. That gas station hired me as their outside counsel. I got to tell this story to the president of the company. A car going 50 to 60 kpm hit both of my knees in 2008. It was 100% my fault. I wasn't paying attention when I crossed the road, and not only I didn't have any broken bone whatsoever, I didn't even fall. I did flinch quite a lot, though. My knees and leg hurt for about 2 days, but I really can't explain how a car going relatively fast hit me only got me to have barely more than a couple bruises. When I was about 12 years old I went up to Lake Tahoe with my friend and his parents who had a condo in Incline Village. One day, the two of us are walking to the bowling alley and cross a street in a crosswalk. Right before we get to the curb, a car comes really close to hitting us. All of a sudden, we are both up on the curb, like we were lifted a few feet. We both looked at each other strangely. Did you jump? No, did you? No. We spent the next hour kind of dumbfounded. It didn't feel like a shove or any use of force. We were still in the street, then we weren't. When I was 10 years old I didn't want to go to school one day. I faked a stomachache so my grandmother would let me stay home. I've always been a bad liar, so my GMA tried to call my bluff. She told me if I was too sick for school then she would be scheduling me a doctor's appointment. 3 hours later I was rushed into emergency surgery. My fake illness was actually appendicitis, and it was so inflamed that if I hadn't come in that day my appendix would have ruptured, potentially killing me. I felt 100% fine that day. Faking sick saved my life. I once was changing pants in my room before work and took off my belt. After putting on my other pair of pants, I went to put my belt back on but that belt was gone. No one else was in the room, and I spent a good 10 minutes looking for it as I had simply set it on the floor. It has been 10 years and I have never seen that belt again. At friend's house, friend was in garage working on dirt bike. Driveway empty because parents left a while ago. Go inside to grab a soda, but decide to look for his cat, who I haven't seen all day. I walk into the office, and as I'm calling her name, a deep man's voice goes meow right into my right ear. I jump and run around the main floor looking for who said that. Didn't find anyone. I once shut my ear in a car door. No idea how. Have tried to recreate it and canoe it, but my god that hurt. This one is strange to me because it was so long ago and I'm convinced I have to be remembering things wrong. I was a young kid at the grocery store and I saw this toy helicopter, like Hot Wheels sized, that I really wanted for some reason. I, of course, didn't buy it, but the memory of it stuck in my head. A few nights later, I had a dream where I was playing with the helicopter, but I realized it was a dream and stupid young me thought that if I put it under my pillow, it would still be there when I woke up. After that, I woke up and eagerly checked under the pillow to get it. For some reason, it was right where I left it in the dream. As a kid, I wasn't surprised to find it there as it all made perfect sense to me then, but years later I have no clue how the toy helicopter actually got underneath the pillow. When I was 12 I was sitting on the front steps of our house when I heard a crackling sound and what sounded like wind blowing against flames. I looked up and saw a fireball overhead. It looked to be just a few feet above the roofline and traveled over the tree line until I could not see it anymore. Never even told my parents because it seemed so unbelievable. I hit a patch of black ice in the dark going 60 miles per hour down the highway. At the time, I drove a 1-ton cargo van. It hit the guardrail and flipped. Not only did I walk away without a scratch, the car was drivable, and I was only 30 minutes late to work. Edit, a word. I was walking between bars in a college town and felt something hit me in the back. I turned around and saw a cue ball rolling down the sidewalk. I then spent the next 5 minutes walking up and down the street trying to figure out who threw it or what happened. I never found anyone, and I still have the cue ball. When I was younger, in elementary school, I used to have the same dream every weekend starting on Saturday, when I would go to sleep, and then waking up in the middle of the night, on Sunday, and throwing up. The dream was always a bunch of numbers. Not even anything happening, just a bunch of random jumbled up numbers all over the place. I never understood why that happened, where the same dream would happen on the same night every week and I would throw up every single time. I always think about it and wonder what it was, or if it was just some weird coincidence. Also, I would not have any signs of being sick before or after. Maybe someone else has experienced this. I have a vivid memory of being at the Statue of Liberty as a child, on my dad's shoulders, seeing the skyline of New York City. I remember what we ate for lunch that day, etc. I remember the ferry we took. I have always thought about this memory and talked about it, but my family denies I ever went to New York City. I did not go for the first time until I was 23, but strangely enough, when I went, I remembered everything just how it had been when I was there with my dad. My girlfriend got out of the shower and called me into the bathroom to show me the mirror. There was a very strange, distinct handprint placed on the mirror. I lived alone, and she was the only adult that had been to my house in about 2 years. We each placed our handprints on the sides of the mystery handprint for reference and neither look anything like the mystery print. I still have no idea how it got there. Mirror handprint picture. Edit to address a couple of ideas. I have lived in this house for over a decade. The mirror is not newly installed. The mirror is cleaned pretty regularly. I have taken many showers and fogged up the mirror and have never seen it. Edit 2, not the person I bought the house from, but the previous owner. She died in this house. I was watching my neighbor's 5-year-old kid a few years prior to this, and she was eating at the kitchen table. She asked me who was that lady that just went upstairs. There was no lady or any other person in the house. Long story short, I lost a jacket at a roller rink when I was in 3rd grade. I had a lucky rabbit foot in the pocket that I bought at the skate shop inside. Months later, my mother, who is adopted, found her birth mother and her half-sister. The first time I went to my newly found aunt's house, she said she had a jacket that might fit me. It was my jacket, rabbit foot still in the pocket. I had a sleep paralysis nightmare when I was a kid, where I saw a red-eyed dark figure standing in the doorway. It's always stuck with me, and I've called him the Boogeyman ever since. One day I was browsing Reddit and somebody painted a picture of their sleep paralysis demon. It was like the guy had painted my exact dream. And then a bunch of people commented that they had seen the same creature. It always makes me uneasy to think about. Edit. Here's a link to the picture I found. But I don't think it's the original post.